to consent. There we
Welcome
go. Consented. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Welcome to Living with Jonathan and
Katy.
We have huge news this week, guys. If you can't tell, Jonathan has a new background.
I got a new green screen.
You did.
No, I moved.
So exciting.
Yes, I moved half a mile away from my old apartment, so it's a big change. I don't know where I am.
New lifestyle, new grocery stores.
Yes. No, literally, I moved back to the same neighborhood that I lived in for 5 years. Because remember, I lived over with Paige, then I lived with Leah, then I lived back over again with Simon and them. So this is literally the same neighborhood. So I'm back to Virgil.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Full circle. But this is huge for the Coven. The Coven, in the last year, we've both gone from studio apartments to mansions. And I didn't think we'd go that quickly. It's true. I went from a studio to a 1-bedroom. You went from a studio to a 2-bedroom. Are we allowed to say that?
Bedrooms, yes, 2 bedrooms. We have a swing room.
Which I said is the swinger room.
Well, we could swing in there if we wanted to, but no, it's gonna be the room that like we use for like my workouts, for doing conference calls, and it's like just an extra bedroom. Very luxurious. We also have an in-unit washer dryer. And that's all I'm going to say about my move. And the reason is because as soon as people hear in-unit washer dryer, they hate me because they're jealous of my life.
They will actually come kidnap. They will come rob you for sure.
Which is crazy because it's one thing. So it washes and dries in the same thing.
To me, that's very European, but it's actually not, because Europeans don't usually use dryers, right? Like now they do.
That's true. In Spain, when we were in Spain for 2 weeks, they had this energy efficient dryer in our Spanish flat, which was owned by a Dominican woman. And we were staying in her apartment while she was like out of town or something. And they had this like energy efficient washer, not dryer. And it took, I kid you not, 6 hours to dry a single load of clothes. I mean, to wash a single load of clothes. We would literally be able to like go to a museum, go out to eat, get lost in the park, get into a fight, and then come back and it's still going. And then we had a little terraza, which was like this, like not a real balcony. Like it's like a fake.
It's like a fake, like Buca de Beppo decor little ledge.
Well, it's a real European building. It's just so small that it was obviously only made so you could put your laundry out on the balcony to hang. Because like everyone else in Madrid had all these like little red metal things that had all these like lines in it, and then you basically just like hang your clothes out on the terrace. And then in the morning we would wake up and then we would get the clothes, and they were like hard as they were just like shirts that were like in like weird positions.
They were voguing.
Yes, like, and I think like, I don't know, maybe the Europeans, they use a fabric softener when they wash. I don't know.
It's cream. It's actually, you're supposed to wash everything with heavy cream.
With heavy cream.
In Europe.
But what about you?
I'm just so excited for you, truly. Like I know how hard it is, especially you. Not only were you living in a studio, two of you are quarantining in a studio, which is like, I mean, so many people standing the test of these things. But so I'm just so happy for you. And you have a mantle, which is so cute.
I know.
You have like arched ceiling. I mean, it's a dream. I want your mantle so you can do like really cool, like satanic, shrines. Because it's a black mantle too.
It is, and you know what I was thinking? I was like, oh my God, this living room, because when you see the living room in person, it's like, oh, this is perfect for like a coven meeting.
Yes.
Because the mantle is in the foreground. And I was like, oh my God, if I had my own coven, we would all sit around comfy chairs, right? And I would always be distressed because I'd be trying to like protect the coven and no one living up to their
to their powers.
Yes. And I would be like, pretend this mug was like a glass of like gin. I don't know. It's like a magical liquor. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And then I like set the gin down on the mantle. And then I'm like, I've got it. You know what I mean? So I just,
you know what I mean?
It's good for blocking.
You do. I also like, I know you won't do this. I know you won't take my decor suggestions, but you have this beautiful black mantle in the middle of everything, and it just needs the severed head of Black Phillip from The Witch, the goat. And then like the blood could drip down, and then the blood would say in like a beautiful cursive, like an Etsy kind of print cursive, that would be the live deliciously.
Oh yeah, the blood comes down and it's just, yeah, but then it wouldn't show up. So maybe the blood turns into smoke and then it's written in white.
It could
On the
in bones.
Yes, exactly. It's written in bones.
As we know, like since I moved in, I'm obnoxiously like on decor channels all the time, and I've now stumbled into the goth decor YouTube world. So there's like multiple gothmen or goth women who specialize in like goth decor, and so they do these like literally it's like satanic DIYs and like and this one girl, and the amazing thing is that they all live in like apartments that are like, some of them are like cute in San Francisco, like hardwood floor, little character, but some of them are just like straight up like a condo in Downey, and
shout out to all the poor witches in the Downey condo.
Yeah, city of industry, we see you, we hear you.
Yeah.
But it is amazing because they're goths, so they're like, they can't stand like white walls or anything, so the transformations they've done to their places are like truly insane. So this one woman is so funny. She was giving a tour of her apartment, but literally like floor to ceiling bookshelves, every single thing she's painted is black, even the ceiling.
Wow.
And it was hilarious because she was like, all right, I'm going to show you, I don't know, she was Australian for some reason, and she was like, going to show you my room here, and she was like, unfortunately, because of the camera in the black, can't really see the room. And
so it's literally, she opens her room and it's just a black nothingness.
The cave.
As Mormons call it, outer darkness.
Yes. And what really blew my mind is not just because usually they love to paint everything black, or like red lacquer is very, they always have like a coffee table that's like made out of red lacquer and like lots of skulls. But I was most impressed by her bathroom, which was like literally the little hand soaps were all skulls, and her like soap dispenser is like a Baphomet that's like
no.
And her like everything. So I was like, wow, you can even have a satanic bathroom if you want. It was pretty impressive. And then everything's like,
you would love if you had a friend that was that satanic.
It would be hilarious. And she also like had so many, like literally everything. If she moved a book, there would be like a like replica skull behind it. Like it was just nonstop. It was laced doilies, skulls, and black and red. But so I'm going to send you some of those DIY videos because it is so funny. And it's really hilarious to see people's comments because they're like, thank you so much. This is the content I need. And thank you so much for serving like the community, the coven.
The satanic community.
So guys,
you are about to get not your satanic on, but you're about to get your witch on.
My witch of the woods. Yeah, I'm going up north to stay with my aunt. So my aunt has been quarantining alone this whole time, and she lives deep in the redwoods. We've probably talked about it before. In the redwoods of Sonoma. And so I got my COVID test. I'm negative, and I'm going up north for maybe like a week and a half. I'm not sure.
You say you're neg.
Yeah, I'm soup snag.
I'm nagging on prep.
And I'm ready to party and play. But
she's ready to do some meth in the forest.
But I'm very excited to go. There's not like much we can do, but there's not much we need to do because she lives just truly in the middle of a beautiful redwood forest. And it's not a bummer thing, but the lot next to her, some like rich woman built it or bought it, and it has built a true, like a Gaston level hunting lodge that is just for Airbnb, but it's literally, I'm not even kidding you, it's like a 2-story like lodge, and full on there's taxidermy everywhere. Like literally you like walk in and it's like a bear from like Midsummer. And the funny thing is that like on the Airbnb, because it's a lot of like it's like NorCal people who like maybe rent it, but of course a lot of them are like vegan or more conscientious. And so there's like this disclaimer on the like description that's like, we honor the history of naturalism and the animals, and that's why there's so much taxidermy here. And it's like not because we want to kill animals, but because we want to celebrate them. And so like literally every single bedroom has some like creature that's just like behind the curtain, or like, and it's all like 1800s, like the worst of colonialism era taxidermy. But I would love to just have a dinner party there. It's truly crazy.
That sounds frightening.
It's truly is. But she also is like, she's so rich that everything she imported is like a wall from Spain and a like reclaimed, wood from some like chapel on a hill in Greece, or like, I don't know. Everything is like very expensive. Oh, like a tub, like a French Parisian tub, which, yeah.
You know what I don't love is in like the decor world, the rich like love to import precious things from like other parts of the world. And I'm just kind of like, I don't know, it seems just a little hodgepodge sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen those like architectural digest where they're showing a home and they're like, this is actually a door from Sicily? And it's like, yeah, but wouldn't this door look way better in Sicily, like
Yes.
around
Yes.
where it's supposed to be,
Have you ever been to Hearst Castle?
Yes, I have.
It's literally like he shopped at museums and was like, I'm just gonna have like a backyard that's like a temple from Greece or
Yes, but what's
whatever.
amazing about Hearst Castle is the outside pool and the inside pool.
I know. I honestly, it is, as much as like, I'm like, oh, I hate Wealth. I'm like, God, I want to be in those pools. Did you know that they,
God, I want to be in those pools.
well, when I went on the tour the first time, the security or the tour guide was like, and I know everybody here wants to swim in these pools. And if you do, he was like, and if you have $500, honey, you can swim in the pool. He's like, because that's the fine. I was like, it's like, oh, that's a good idea. But they just started, like, I think before quarantine, I had read that for some charity event, you could buy like a ticket. It was like an evening swim in the pool for like $2,000 a plate or something.
Oh my God.
And I was like, that is crazy.
You better be able to have like a showgirls like sex in the
Or
pool.
like a full, I would want the full actual like showgirls water ballet, situation.
Oh no, I want the Kyle MacLachlan like coming in my pussy. Where she's like, do you remember that scene where she was like orgasming in the pool and she was like, yes, yes, yes.
Flailing.
Yeah, which was honestly only for the man's benefit because there's no way he was making her feel that good.
That's always.
You know what I'm saying? Like she was doing that to turn him on and make him come, right?
Yeah,
there's no way he was.
That's how all sex on all TV is at all times. But
girl, like.
Side note, lest we forget, Gaga filmed the Guy music video at Hearst Castle in that pool.
Really? The which music video?
For GUY, Guy.
Oh.
It's from Art Pop, and they are in that pool, in both pools. No, and it's the way I would want to be in that pool because it's just her, and then like in the interior mosaiced, beautiful Art Deco pool, it's her, and then it's just like a bunch of gay men in harnesses, like just walking around like her little gay military.
People just slept on Art Pop. Also, what's going on with Chromatica? I feel like
this is honestly, it's Pride Month, and we need to have an intervention with the community over Chromatica.
Did you listen to it? I didn't even listen.
I love her so. It's the person that I'm like, I love you so. I feel like I'm in an abusive relationship where I'm like, I love you so much. Why do you do this to me? Like when I love you so much, it is like there's that song, I think it's called Babylon, that is like full on just Vogue, like a shitty version of Vogue.
Yeah.
She has, and I want so hard to love her.
The problem with Lady Gaga,
her music, her new music.
Yes. The problem with Lady Gaga is I think she means so well, and she is an icon for a lot of like millennial aged and like gay men and stuff like that. But the problem is I feel like she's just too derivative. Like she just sounds like a lot of stuff that we've already heard in the past. It just sounds a little passé a little bit. And I know that I'm sounding passé because I said passé, but that's just what it was. And I also think that she's just, now this may sound naive of me, but she's just a little corporate. Like she's always like, I'm not sure that music would be, meaning you have to put it in a Chase Bank or a car commercial for people to like really get it in their ears, but it's not like the music is like amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I feel like she already made the like electro pop synth dance album she wanted to make, and it was called Born This Way. Like she already did it, and now she's doing like a worse version of her old albums. And
even the style just doesn't look good. I mean, I like Rain on Me, but even Rain on Me sounds a little like, it doesn't sound new.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the reason that I think is dangerous is there's a lot of talented people in the music industry right now who are much younger, repped by smaller labels, who are making really innovative new music. And it's kind of like you really need to do that, you know. But I understand that she's very corporate. She's like a big label type person. Like she's like, they're probably like focus grouping, like, oh, do you like this song? Do you like this song? What do you not? And then they probably just water it down. But I would think that she had more control of her career.
I think she does. I think that, I mean, like everybody, that she's surrounded by a lot of yes queens.
Yeah.
And also, what I love about her, I love her enthusiasm about her own music. I really do, because it is very refreshing to see like a female who's like just so confident and so like, my music, like literally, and her whole like tour for I had listened to like interviews about this, but she's just like, this music is to heal the world. And I'm like, okay. And I feel like I just, in her like design and art meetings, she's just like, what about like pink dreadlocks? And they're like, yes, that's what the country needs right now. Like so much.
I mean, I think she's actually honestly, I'm just gonna say it. I think that she means well, and I think that she has a good heart, but I don't think that I personally feel connected to her like as a gay man, and I don't really feel connected to her like musically that much, and I also don't understand why we care as much about her. I don't know, like there's something about it where it's like she is just like an Italian American girl from like where, like New Jersey or New York or something. It's
Manhattan,
like
yeah.
Manhattan, and it's just like, all right, like cool, but I don't understand how she thinks that what she's putting out is culturally significant at this time. I don't understand that. Like she sometimes talks like she put out Lemonade. You know what I'm saying? And even Beyonce didn't really talk about Lemonade. She just put it out, and she didn't need to say that it was culturally significant. She didn't really need to sell it in that way because the music spoke for itself, you know? Not saying Lemonade was Beyonce's best album. I think it was one of Beyonce's most important albums, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of like, I feel like there's a disconnect between what she sees in her head and then what actually comes out, where it's kind of like, you think that you're doing this like let's heal the world thing, but then what comes out is like corporate car commercial songs, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
That's something that I fear about fame, and it's why I just haven't been famous so far. But it is like, I'm like, oh no, you don't see yourself. And it's funny because those people, it's like, when you're famous, you like, if you look at your Twitter, it's people who are like, you are God, yes, I love you. And then it's people who are like, burn in hell, whore. So you don't have any sort of real and one of those is the thing I tweet all the time. But you have no like just normal sense of like who you are. I don't know. It's so wild. But I also truly, I think that level of fame must be like, it's just crazy.
And so, she was so young. She was like, what, 22 or something when she got
so
famous?
young. Yeah. So all that to say, my new album is coming out, and I think it will heal the world.
Wait, so we need to talk about how all these men are just getting like called out and accused for
underage
assault and statutory rape.
All the comedy world is crumbling before our eyes as these men continue. The thing is that people are like, have you heard about this? I'm like, none of this is shocking. It's just like business as usual. I told you there was like an ongoing joke that like, if you were a girl, if you wanted to get into a show for free, just say Chris D'Elia said you were on the list. Like, just say that at the box office and they'll like send you backstage or whatever.
Right. It doesn't prove anything about if he did it. It just proves that he's like a hound dog in terms of like he could
for sure. And all these, I'm just like, I have so little and I do have like understand, like, I'm not like all men are fucking trash, but it's just like, yeah, this is so just like obvious and so part of it. It has made me reflect on like when you are, especially when you're a girl that age, like 15 to 16, 17. And I know honestly, truly in the queer community, like I feel like a lot of people have stories of like their first sexual encounters being with somebody who is like older. Yours is. Yeah.
My first sexual encounter when I was 16 with a man was with an older man my age now. I can't even
Yeah.
picture being attracted to someone who is 16 right now.
Yeah.
In any way, let alone seeking that out. So even though I definitely enjoyed the sex at the time when I was 16, I had sex with a 27-year-old grown man, junior ESPN executive. Okay.
Say name. No, I didn't know this part of it.
Yes, and then he, of course.
Can I tell you something, like, truthfully?
What?
I thought it was I don't know why I thought it was a tow truck driver. Was that something different?
Oh no, I fucked a tow truck driver, but I was an adult. We were already friends when I fucked him.
Okay, because I always thought you, like, met a dude in a tow truck. I don't know why. It was a junior ESPN executive?
Yes.
You
Or,
met him online?
I don't know if they call him a junior executive, but
Sure.
a lesser executive, the ones that are younger, right? But he was like 27, and not like 27, he was 27.
Oh my God.
And I was 16, and I'm just kind of like, I would never go over to a 16-year-old's parents' house,
right,
and fuck him. I wouldn't seek out a 16-year-old. I'm not attracted to that. I don't want that. I would never even go over into someone's parents' house, even if they were my age. If they were living with their parents, I cannot be. And this is someone who snuck people in to his house, like, but me as like now the on the other side of it, I just wouldn't feel comfortable. Like, so I can't even imagine. And I saw those messages that the girl posted with Crystalia. Did you see them?
Yeah.
And nothing is overtly explicit, but it is coming down to this. You're in your 30s, she is 17. You like you were talking in that first message, and that was already like, why are you talking to a 17-year-old? But it ended and it was like, cool. You didn't really say anything. But then he hit her back up and was like, hey, now we all know what a guy wants when he like hits up a girl just randomly and is like, hey, and
I'm in town, let's hang out.
Exactly. And of course she's like 17 and she's like, just I want to know why, you suddenly randomly hit me up, and it's like, well, girl, she's young, she doesn't know, or maybe she does, but now that she's an adult, she looks back at that going like, yikes, that is creepy. Because I'm guarantee you she probably feels the same way I do. Like, is she going to message some 17-year-old boy and be like, hey, what you doing? Like, there is a double standard with men and women and with gays and straights, right?
Yeah.
But there really shouldn't be a double standard, because it is equally as buffoonish and creepy to even if Crystalia didn't actually commit statutory rape with her. I have no idea. Maybe he did with other women. Maybe he didn't. Other girls. But the fact that he was just like advancing upon
engaging with them. Yeah. It's like, so the thing about this is, like, I understand, of course, dudes are dudes, they're horny, whatever. But I'm like, and this is how I feel about, honestly, all like May, December relationships like with significant age gaps. And I'll get dragged on Twitter and I don't care. Come for me. It's so embarrassing for the older, like, it's not even about, sexual, illegal, I go buffoonery, as you said, like, I would be so humiliated. And I know this because when I was younger, of course I was getting hit on by older guys all the time. And especially you get at that age and you're like 15, 16, 17 and what do they say to you? They say, you're so mature. And you're like, oh my God, I am so much. Like, I got an A in my AP history class. And you're just like, you think it's like they see the woman in you or something. Right. And it's very flattering, and I remember being like, I was like, had just turned 18, I think. And I had an older manager and he was like 27, 28. And he like invited me over and to his house, and he had roommates. And it's that thing where, like, I remember, so I went and his roommates were all older.
Again, how old you are?
I was 18.
Okay.
And I'm sure he'd ask me, like, how old are you? Oh, and I would be like, I just turned 18 or whatever, right? 18, 19, and I went over to his house, and he and his like roommates and maybe his roommates' girlfriends, who were all age appropriate. Like, they were all in their like late 20s, early 30s. And I went over, and I remember one of the women, she would have been in her early 30s, like, looking at me like, what the fuck? And I remember in that moment, I didn't feel like ashamed from her. I felt like, oh, I see what she's like, why the fuck is an 18-year-old here? You know? And I actually didn't feel hurt by it. I realized like, oh yeah, like I would understand. And now in hindsight, I'm like, if I had a fucking friend who brought over an 18-year-old to a party, I would be like, you're a fucking loser. Literally, like, one, leave, and two, like, I don't know what the fuck you guys are doing. Like, I would be it's so embarrassing in hindsight. And I'm like, oh my God. And I thought like, he's cool. He sees like, you know, the music in me or whatever. Like, it's so
wait, but it is so true, Katie, because like an 18-year-old, you're just so impressionable. I know you're technically an adult, but you're just so impressionable. That's why, like, what was that dude who, and this is someone who is even a little bit older than 18, but there was this, these like two dumb gay white dudes, like, what's that dude who wrote Milk, the film, Dustin?
Oh, Adam, no, Dustin.
Like Dustin Lance Bass or something.
Black. It does look
Black. Lance Bass. Yeah. And then he was like, he was in his early 40s, literally, like I think 41, 42. And then he got married to Tom Daly, the diver, who was 20 or 21 when they got married. And I'm like, I guess it's legal and that's fine. But you have to know, as like this older man, people change a lot from the ages of 21 to their 40s.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, I just would not be able to be like stimulated mentally with someone who is 20 years my junior in that time period. Like, obviously I get that it's different when someone is dating, like if someone is in their like 70s and they're dating someone who's in their 50s, that's very different because there's been a lot of life experience that's had.
Yeah.
But at that point, that age difference is just kind of like weird, because it's like, ew, so he's gonna get married and you guys are gonna like, he's not gonna go out and have fun and be like young and see what he likes. And it's like, you're marrying a man who doesn't even really know who he is or who, like, what he likes sexually.
Literally, it's like you're just an older child. My true belief, if I had a Katy dictatorship, no one is considered an adult.
Let me plug in. Sorry.
Yep.
My computer is about to die. Okay, go.
In my world, no one is truly an adult until they're 25, because that's when your brain stops growing, right? Like, that's scientific. It's also why everybody from 20 to 25 makes the dumbest life choices and like is ridiculous. And like, I don't take anybody seriously under age 25. I also think that you should not, if you're in your 20s, you can only date people in your 20s, because I've been in relationships that are like slightly older, but older enough that like the age difference was like, they're ready to start settling down and I'm still ready to like, you know,
right,
pop off. And it doesn't work. And we've all seen those relationships where like somebody's 21 and somebody's 33, and it's like the 33-year-old is like, why are you acting like a fucking dumb 21-year-old? It's like, because I'm a fucking dumb 21-year-old, you know?
It's true. And also, we've had friends who were significantly older than, let's say, their wife when they got married. And it definitely wasn't statutory. Everyone was an adult. We're not accusing anyone of that. But meaning the relationship definitely changed in terms of what the parameters were at the beginning, in terms of, let's say, being open or you know, being able to be polyamorous or whatever, versus when the woman got older and was like, oh, I don't like that anymore. That was fun when I was like 22, but I'm actually looking for something much more serious now. And it's like, that's a great example of how drastically people can change in just like a 9-year time span, you know, in terms of what they want, you know?
You change the most in your from 20 to 29 is a totally different person.
Yes,
like,
it's so true.
And it's a much more significant change than 30 to 39. That's why I truly believe, like, if you're 30 and dating like a 60-year-old, like, I think it's fucking lame, but like, at least you're mentally you're kind of in adult zone, you know? But anything in your 20, like, you're an idiot. And the thing is that people will like stand by those relationships. And then once you age out, you go, oh, that was so embarrassing. Like, we've all seen a girl who's like 21 and her boyfriend's 33 and he's like possessive, calls her a lot, is like, why are you like, and it's like, yeah, he's a loser who's dating you because he's a fucking loser. Like, you know, it's so, it's just so, I always have a big problem with those types of relationships. And whatever, I mean, sue me.
Well, anyway, The new thing about Jeff Ross was that there was something going on. It just broke today, I think.
Yeah, that was more sexual, and she was underage. Oh, the thing that I do love though in all these is I I really love the girls who, when Dalia was like messaging them, was like, "Hey, let's make out." Who write back, "Dude, I'm 16." Like, I love the girls who are like, "You loser." Like, that makes me happy.
Right, because also I would feel like to a lot of 16-year-old girls, a man that age does actually seem more like their dad. It is closer in age to their dad, who's probably in their 40s,
Yeah.
than to them, who is literally half their age.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I just think that, especially with something like comedy and other performing art forms, a lot of straight men get into it for the pussy, for the chicks, to have this kind of power of their notoriety or their fame or whatever in order to get women. And I feel like that's fine if you want to fuck grown ass women, that's fine, you know. But if you're using that to exert that force over someone who's like younger, impressionable, it's illegal, they're a child. Come on, like that is totally an abuse of power, even if you're not a famous comedian, but especially if you are, because there is something about that fame that is very alluring to young minds. Because
of course you want attention, and that's the thing too, is that people, I'm like, the statutory rape thing, it's not necessarily a physical, like, you're older, that's a child, you know, because of course there's 18-year-old women that are like full mature like women, but the point being that it is a emotional manipulation and power dynamic. That's where people can get like manipulated, and that's why it's like not fucking cool. And yeah, also, like, I remember being in high school, and like I feel like every high school had a girl who was dating a dude who'd already graduated or was like significantly older. And like I remember in my high school, my volleyball team, there was like one of those girls, and it was a thing where like it was like, "Oh, is he gonna come to prom?" And it was like, "Yeah, I think he's gonna come home from like wherever, late college or whatever." But like, this dude's 23 going to a fucking high school prom. Like, are you not humiliated? Like, so freaking embarrassing.
You know what I was doing at age 23? I was at your 30th birthday.
Yeah, you socialize up, and I like that.
Oh, I have always socialized up. Well, I was a baby when I started comedy, so everyone was like in their mid to late 20s. So
but do you remember when I first met you and I told you, "You're like so mature"?
No, that was probably because you were probably embarrassed to be talking to me. You were just like talking to Ingy, my little sister.
My little sister. Well, I actually did have a rule. I'm very age sensitive, and I did have a rule for a long time that I was like, for a long time I was like, I don't have any friends younger than me. Again, I'm not a loser, but now I have like, but comedy puts you in such an interesting, like, in touch with such interesting, like, you know, swaths of people that I actually do have close. Rachel's younger than me. You're younger than me. But for a long time I was very like, no, I don't friend down. Like,
and I also date older, pretty much.
yeah.
Even my first boyfriend was a year older, but then since then it's always been like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years older.
But those are reasonable, like, expanses, you know. If you were like 20, also that's the thing too, I would be so embarrassed, Jonathan, if you came over and you had like full on like a 50-year-old boyfriend and we're like at dinner, like I would literally be like, "Why is your dad here?" Like, it's so, I would not want to talk to I'm savage.
There are some very sexy men who are
sure,
and I fucked them. But here's the thing. We kind of both knew that this could never go beyond like what this was, because there was literally a 30-year gap between us. That means that when he was 30, I was just being pushed out of my Mexican mom's vagina. I was like this, coming out. So that's crazy. There's just such generational differences. And then we're at such different points in life. Like, look, if people can handle that, that's cool. I'm just saying I couldn't handle that, because there's more to the relationship than just sex or being attracted to each other.
You have to have like the similar, honestly, Chris and I talk about it so much. We're actually only a year apart, I think. And we both talked about how grateful we are because we have the exact same cultural references and like era of anything. And I'm like, can you imagine like, you know, if I'm like, oh, you know, in sync, and then they're like, oh, I don't know, I'm more of like a One Direction, whatever. I'd be like, ugh, like,
Right.
how do you even talk about the world or like anything? But I feel like, I guess oftentimes, not oftentimes those relationships, but people do. And it's like, whatever, fuck behind closed doors, that's cool. But do not bring him to my birthday party, okay? I don't want to have to awkwardly be like, oh, so do you have a son Jonathan's age? Oh, okay. I told this story on the podcast before, but of the old man who tried to, he like bought me drinks, and then he had a dead wife, and I kept like trying to bring it back to his dead wife so that he wouldn't keep hitting on me. But he was like, you know, you're such like a kick in the pants. And he's like, you're the same age as my son. And then I like asked him, and I was like, oh, is your son single? Because like, why would I want to date you? You know? But he could not for the life of him, like I was just like, I didn't feel bad making him pay for all my drinks, because I was like, you're so dumb. You literally think that you're going to like seduce me right now. We're not even on your yacht, you know?
How old is he?
Like 67.
Oh yeah. So
he was elderly.
He's literally a senior. Like in the US, that's considered a senior.
Yeah.
So that is literally at the time that happened. What is that? 32 years older than you? Like that's.
Oh yeah. And at that time, I think I was 29 at that time. Like,
yeah, come on.
So embarrassing. Also, imagine having okay, and I'm going to say it right now because a lot of these people in these relationships probably can't say it, but like, imagine having a boyfriend who's very susceptible to COVID right now because he's so old.
Right.
And you're like, sorry, we can't go anywhere because, you know, George. Right.
Now, you know what I do have to say, and I'm calling them out. My dad is 14 years older than my mom.
But they met when she was like in her 30s, right? Or something, right? Uh-oh.
Now you get this? So
let
me respect my dad a little bit more, okay? They met when my mom was 19 years old, okay? And then my dad was 14 years older. So what is that? 33? He would have been 33. He was her boss, right?
Where? Or I mean, that you don't have to say actually.
It was at his like law office that he had in the late 70s or something. But it wasn't his practice. He just was like at the law office, her boss. Like he supervised several people. But my dad always said, oh, I always thought she was like very beautiful, but I never did anything because she was like a child and she was 19. So and my mom said the same thing. There was never, when they were working together at that time in the late 70s, when my mom was 19, there was never an exchange in advance. He never asked her out. It was always strictly professional, like always. And they were also both married.
Okay.
But they were both in really bad marriages that were falling apart. So it's like, if something had happened, it would be a little bit more understandable because like my mom's ex like threatened to kill her. So it's like, if you go with another guy during that time, I'm not gonna do it. But anyways, but nothing ever happened. So they ended up meeting years later, when my mom was in her late 20s, like 28 or 29, because a friend of a friend, they like ran into that friend, and then they both were invited to like a group dinner with just a bunch of these friends. And then of course now they recognized each other, and my dad was like, oh, and she looked even better, and she looked more like a woman now.
That's honestly, that's what I respect your dad for the most.
Yeah. And so then at that point, that's when, and my mom also responded, there was like a mutual attraction.
Yeah.
That is around the time when they started dating, when she was in her late 20s. And then they didn't get married until she was 33.
See, that makes a lot more sense. Like all of that, I respect a lot more.
Nothing happened in the late 70s, and they didn't even see each other for like another almost 10 years. And then they ran into each other again, and then they started dating. But at that time, the age was much more appropriate.
Yeah, that seems a lot more appropriate. To be honest, I actually can't believe I have never, because I don't have the best emotional boundaries, especially when it comes to men and daddies. Daddy, sometimes I can't believe I like was not involved with some like professor affair. Like I sometimes really, I'm like, wow, like I would have been so easily like manipulated. But I don't know.
I fucked a Caltech professor in his office at Caltech.
So are you Did you go to space with him?
Well, here's the thing. Um, he had something against his like office partner because he wanted to fuck with at his office partner's like side of the office.
Oh,
I didn't like him. But also what's creepy is like the dude was in his 40s and I was in my early 20s. So there was like a 20-year difference, which is fine in terms of like hooking up, I think. But you could tell because he was a professor, he was trying to like live some fantasy of like fucking some students that he thought were hot.
yeah.
Caltech doesn't have any hot students because they're all nerds. But either way,
Okay, this is the clip I'm promoting this episode with.
but either way, we fucked in his office, and all I have to say is it wasn't that good. The dick was not that good. It wasn't
He was a nerdy professor.
he wasn't even that nerdy. It just wasn't that good. I have to say. So I was like, whatever.
I mean, really, it just. I think we solved it. Just don't do it, guys.
So okay, if you're a man, stop texting 15-year-olds. Stop.
Yes. Stop, just totally, you loser.
Yeah, stop being a loser. Be a little bit less of a loser, and if you're in your 40s, spring for the 21-year-old. Yes, is it still loserish? Yes, but it's not.
But spring not like, for it. You got the money. You have the divorce settlement.
You're not like texting someone who's literally in their mom's house. Like,
okay, now here's the last thing I'll say because we're actually almost hitting the time. Okay, how we feel about older women with much younger men, because I'm like more disgusted by it than anything. It's like literally like my son's friend, you know, Dustin, like that cannot be realistic. I mean,
what if Dustin's got a cock?
But literally to be like, be like, oh yeah, I'm 40, he's 21, tale as old as time.
I think there is a double standard where we like look at men and like, at least the patriarchy looks at men and is like, yeah, you got a 21-year-old, yeah, you know? And then like you look at like Katy, who also is a 21-year-old, and you're like,
Katy and Dustin.
What a sad woman with a sad vagina. You know, like, why is that the double standard? But here's the actual truth. It's somewhere in the middle. They're both losers.
Yeah.
The woman and the man are both losers. She should not be looked at worse than the man.
True.
And the man should not be looked at better than her.
Yeah.
Now, I do have to say, it's fine if you're an older woman and you're dating a man that's an appropriate age younger than you. Like, I do think that if you're a woman who's like in her 40s and you're dating a man who's 35, I don't think that's a big fucking
No, that's like, I would say within a 10-year difference is what I'm comfortable with.
Well, there are also, let's talk about these women. And I know they're very beautiful, attractive women, but like, for instance, who was the movie star? I think it was Sandra Bullock. She was like 45 and she was dating like a 22-year-old Ryan Gosling.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
They had like a whole like relationship and stuff. And it's like, I get, you both are beautiful. You both have talent. You're both movie stars and stuff. And I get, but it's kind of just like, Sandra, he has to be so stupid. Come on. Like, you're so much smarter than that, hopefully. Like, you couldn't have dated a man who was like in his 30s that actually had like some experience. He's 22. He doesn't know anything. Like, come on.
It's so, like, literally, I just imagine if I was dating a 21-year-old, they're just like in their boxers all the time. I feel like they're just like getting food out of my fridge and just keep walking back and forth with like a snack in their hand. They would just be like, hey babe, where's the yogurts? Like, and I'd be like, Dustin, you know where they are. They're in your snack drawer.
And on that note, I think we have to wrap it up.